Welcome back, everybody, to another Digital Gate Studios production. Basil, what kind of BT14 goodness do you got for us?
Well, I was really excited for the secret rares in this set. War Greymon. I know a lot of people have their reservations about the Greymon tribe in this game. Gets support every set. It's blah blah blah, and like I understand that, but it's Pikachu. You know what I mean? It's gonna be
the
always
mascot.
around. So one of the first things I built was War Grey X with the new War Grey secret rare. It looked pretty appealing. 5 checks and then blitz for game.
Yeah.
It seems good to me. But when you play with it, it doesn't really feel that good to play in a regular War Greymon deck. And then the more I looked at the set, I realized that the Greymon support is not for War Greymon.
Okay.
It's for Agumon Bond of Bravery.
You weren't even around when this
was
came
before
out.
my time, but I looked at these cards and I was like, I really want to put this together. And with some of the support, I think it's actually pretty competitive.
Okay.
A lot of good board control. It's Greymon, so there's a lot of good cards and a little bit of spice right at the end.
Okay.
And we'll get into that. Starting off, we're going to look at the new Coromon.
Okay.
The reason that this is better than the standard draw Coromon is because this is going to activate when you trash a security with Agumon, because Agumon does not have Greymon in name,
Right.
so it would not trigger that egg. As well as this draws a card when you promote a rookie turn 2 and swing and chip a security.
Oh, okay.
Which the Coromon from BT5 does not do. It only counts if you have Greymon or Omnimon in name.
Gotcha.
That being said,
You do run the
we
fifth
are
one,
running
yeah.
a 5th egg. This is a pretty aggressive list. So there's very few times where you're going to stay in the raising. You're pretty much always going to want to promote on the turns that you can promote. So you are going to make your way through 5 eggs a good amount. As well as we are playing cards that accelerate our egg phases.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
So that's why we are running 5 eggs. If you wanted to cut the 5th egg, I think that's fine. But I have found that in a lot of the grindier matchups, yellow vaccine and stuff like that, you will find yourself going to 5 eggs before you kill your opponent. So, and when you run out of eggs, your deck does not do anything.
Yeah.
So you absolutely do not want to be caught without eggs. The first piece is the new BT14 Agumon, the
New SR, yeah.
super rare.
Yeah.
This is the Agumon that nearly fully power creeps P9 Agu. I want to note that it is 1K on top of it, which
nothing.
P9 Agu is 2K. That being said, this card is really strong. The reason that I was excited for it was, well, we can Evo for free, and so we can theoretically go from 3 to 6 in one turn.
Yeah.
Was my original thought. But the more I looked at it, I was like, how many times in Greymon Tribal am I really promoting an Agumon?
Almost never.
Almost never.
Yeah.
But in Agubond, you're doing that all the time.
Yeah, because you're
so
the
that's
tamer. Yep.
right. And so that's why I really think that this is meant for this specific deck more than anything else.
I like it.
As well as plus 2K on the inheritable is perfectly well. We are running the BT12 Agumon at 4. It's the best searcher in the deck. We're playing a lot of ties in the deck, not just the 4 for the Agumon, but also some more ties on top of that, as well as grabs all of our Greymons. We're playing a lot of them. Worth noting that I did not realize this does not grab Agumon.
Nope.
Because Greymon is not in its name. So that's worth noting. That being said, I would still max this out because you do need to find your ties ASAP.
Yeah.
Throwing it back a tiny little bit to EX4,
Okay.
we've got the red-yellow Agumon. Start a main phase if you have a red or yellow tamer, gain a memory. And then inheritable, draw a card when you suspend a red tamer. The Agumon tie, you never suspend.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to suspend to activate its effect. But there are other ties that we will be suspending to draw that card. As well as it's our best... It's basically going to give us an extra memory when we leave the breeding area, along with our Agumon tie.
Yeah.
Do have one more rookie in the deck, and that is the Security Attack Agumon.
Oh, okay.
This one, my immediate instinct was to put more of it in the deck because, well, it's Agumon. I want to have Security Attack +1. But the honest to goodness truth is there's not a lot of times where we need Security Attack +1 on our level 7 because we're going to be trashing security. We're going to be doing a lot of chip damage with level 4s and rookies. And then we're going to have a really big aggressive punch for game at the end. The other thing about this card is there's no need to see 2 of it per game because we're going to be playing rookies from trash a lot of the times. So if we have 1 in trash or 1 in hand, that's the only one we could ever need.
Gotcha.
As well as you're very rarely going to be using its all-turn skill to gain a memory when you play a tie. But it does come up, and you do want to run a bunch of rookies in this deck because it's a pretty aggressive list. There's not a lot on the top end. So 13 on the rookie slot, I think that is a good number for me. If you wanted to add another one of these Agumons, I think that'd be fine. But this is the lineup I'm rolling with.
I like it.
On the level 4s, we have the BT14 Greymon.
Oh, there it is.
This is another one that when I was looking, I was like, why would people ever play this? When are you ever attacking with your Greymon?
Yeah.
And the answer is in a deck like this.
Yeah.
So again, when attacking, if you gain 2k, and then if you have a tie, gain a memory. So that's going to help us extend our play into our level 5s and playing tamers and stuff like that. As well as the inheritable of plus 2k comes up in some niche scenarios. We're mainly looking for that when attacking trigger.
Gotcha.
And the reason I was confused about this, I was like, well, we have Greymons that give plus 2k and have more relevant when digivolving skills. But we'll get to that in a minute. Next, we've got P10 Greymon.
Oh, okay.
2 checks on a level 4.
There it is.
This is a lot less scary than it was in the past. Obviously, we're gaining DP on a good amount of our rookies, as well as the new tie is going to be giving us plus 2,000. So it's not uncommon for this thing to swing 2 checks at 11
And live. Yeah.
and resolve those checks, which is really nice. But it's basically your aggression in this list, and I think it's really nice for this deck. A card that I have come to love is the BT5 Greymon, the Turbo. So again, I saw this card and I was like, why would you ever play this over this card? And I was like, well, in a deck that swings with 4s, you know what I mean?
Makes sense, yeah.
But the reason this is good is you can go into the Greymon for free from the super rare Agumon, and then gain that memory.
It's
back.
actually you net one when you
net
digivolve,
one when you promote. If you have the tie, you gain 1. If you swing, you gain 1. You're going to be generating a lot of memory in this deck, and this is another way to do it. As well as we were just looking for basically level 4 Greymons that don't really care so much about the inheritable, and this is another one of those. We do run 2 more level 4s in the deck that are not Greymons.
Aguni.
That's Aguni for game. Like I said about the Agumon tie, it does not suspend. So it's always going to be a target for your hybrids.
Yeah.
And so running those as sort of your last punch for game, I think is the right way to go in this list. That is it for the level 4 lineup. We've got 10 Greymons and 2 hybrids, and I think that is a perfectly good ratio, because we've only got 4 on the level 5s.
Interesting.
And that is the BT14 Skullgray.
Oh.
So the interesting thing about this card is this is what really opened my eyes to, oh, these are Agumon cards. These are not Wargray tribal cards. So if you don't know what this does, you can Evo on top of it on any Greymon. So even though it only Evos on purple, we can Evo on all of our level 4s besides the Aguni.
Okay.
You pitch 1 in your hand to delete your Digimon with the lowest level and your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. It is worth noting that if you have an Agumon and this Skullgray, the Skullgray will not be deleted by its effect.
Gotcha.
So you do have to target your lowest level. But if it's the only thing on your board and the only thing on your opponent's board, it's going to delete both of them.
It's going to go 1 for 1. Yeah.
Then you play an Agumon from your trash, and it can be the one in its own stack.
Yeah.
And then if you have a tie, it gains Rush.
That's crazy.
So the interesting thing about that is you can get more search, you can set up more pressure, just leave this out here, or you can go into your Agumon that turn and then swing with 2 checks with rush, trash the security, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So this card is really strong. The old Skull Greymon, I think, was good, but necessarily had to live the swing because it was end of attack, delete this Digimon.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is just when Digivolving, you can delete it.
Nice.
So I think this card is really nice for the deck. And that's actually it for the level 5s. So I think just the 4 level 5s, if you wanted to add one of those EX1 Skull Greys, I think you could. But I think you really just want to see this one.
Gotcha.
Then we have the sort of dark horse in the secret rare. If you haven't seen the case opening, both Jesse and Jeff have a playset of this card, much to their chagrin.
Crazy how many of those things come out of a case.
But this card is pretty interesting. This deck fights for the board in a really major way, and this is one of the ways that it does that. So if you promote an Agumon and you want to skip this and don't go into Greymon, or maybe you don't even have a Greymon, and your opponent's already into a level 6, you can warp into it and then pseudo blitz. It gains raid, and then you can attack. So you can swing security, raid into your opponent's Digimon. If you have a tie, piercing and sec +1. So this is sort of, I wouldn't say our backup for Agumon. It's just another avenue.
Yeah.
And then the interesting thing about this is it digivolves from 5 with Greymon in name, not with Metal Greymon in name.
Ooh.
So it does go on top of the Skull Greymon.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, so that is an interesting thing to note. And so I think that's really nice.
That's cool.
Then we'll get into Agumon Bond of Bravery, excuse me.
Oh man, I gotta get you some alt arts for that, boy.
Yeah, like I said,
I got you.
I didn't really play in the BT6 days, so I had to come to my man Jesse for these cards. But it basically the cornerstone of the deck.
Yeah.
With the Tamer, you go from an Agumon to this card. You trash your own security. And then at the end of the turn, if you have a security, you'll delete the Digimon, which is going to activate some of our other Tamers we're playing in the deck.
Gotcha.
But that's sort of the mainstay of the deck. We'll get into the option cards now. The first is Triple Crimson Blaze.
Oh, that card kills me.
Crimson Blaze is one of the best removal cards in this format. A lot of people are going wide, and a lot of people are playing Digimon by effects.
Yeah.
D-Brigade, Lugarmon, Bloomlord, Lord Knight, Diaboromon.
Yeah.
There's a million decks.
All my favorite decks.
There's a million people who are playing decks and playing Digimon by effects. Mastemon's coming back. I mean, there's a ton that Crimson Blaze is for. And originally, this was 2 Crimson Blaze and 1 Gaia Force. But the interesting thing about Gaia Force is your sort of Gaia Forces are on your 7s and 6s.
Yeah, they're built in. Yeah.
So that gives you the room to put in extra wide board removal, which this deck necessarily struggles with because it basically deletes one thing at a time. So if you need to delete 4 rookies or low DP level 4s or something like that, drop a Crimson Blaze and shut your opponent out for a turn. And that is actually it for the options. Normally, in any deck, I really like memory boosts and I really like training cards. But the interesting thing about the memory boosts is we're playing a ton of Tamers.
Yeah.
So they're always going to miss on those. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll just play the training cards. The bad thing about the training cards is we're going to use our Agumon to Evo for free into our Greymons. So you can't do that.
Who cares? Yeah.
You can't target Tamers with hybrids, so you can't do that. You can't Evo into Skullgrey with red training because you have to target or you have to Evo into a red Digimon.
Yeah.
And you cannot use trainings to go into Agumon because you have to activate the Tamer effect and you cannot activate the training in between resolving the Tamer effect.
Gotcha.
So as much as offense training would be a great fit in this deck, the only time we'd ever use it is when we're using one of these rookies or warping into Wargrey.
Yeah, and that's not worth it.
It's too situational.
Yeah. Plus, you're gonna whiff your Skull Greys on it, which would be really bad.
it's just not the way to go.
Yeah.
So instead of trainings and boosts, we're playing a bunch of tamers. The first is the Tai Kamiya.
No surprise there.
This is when an Agumon or Greymon leaves leaves the breeding area, gain 1, draw 1. So already really good. Then it allows you to warp from your Agumon to your Agubond for cost, and then delete it into the turn if you only have a single security.
Yeah.
One thing to note about this card is its your turn is not once per turn.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We've got some more ties. That is the BT14 tie.
Oh,
another
okay.
card that is sort of like, why would you play this in Wargrey Tribal?
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't. You'd play it in this. So you'd promote your Agumon.
Okay.
You'd Evo, or start of main, you would gain 1, draw 1 from the tie. You'd give it plus 2,000. Then you'd Evo for free into your Greymon. So now you're going to swing. You're going to gain a memory off of this effect. You're going to gain 2k off this effect. 2k off this effect. So we're plus 6 on a level 4. We're swinging 11k, 1 check, gain a memory, draw a card.
That's crazy.
Turn 2.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good value.
That is pretty good value.
And so that if that doesn't get you going, I don't know what will. Our next tamer is 3 Analog Youth.
Interesting.
So Analog Youth was a mainstay in the deck from what I can tell back in the day, because when your Skullgray died, it would let you hatch another egg.
Yeah.
And so again, we're doing it the same way here with the Skullgray, with the Agumon, because it's level 5 or higher with sources. But then pairing with the Analog Youth is Louis Iwata.
Oh, the movie promo.
The movie promo. So when I mentioned that this is not once per turn, I meant that. So if, let's say we go into Skullgray and we have 1 memory or 2 memory. So we Evo into Skullgray, we're now at 1. Then we use the Analog Youth to hatch an egg and gain a memory.
Yep.
And then we'll be at 0. Then we can Evo, we can play Louis, promote our Agumon, gain 1, draw 1, Louis skill gains 1, and then Evo into the Turbo Greymon for free, gain 1.
So it's still your turn. Yeah. Crazy.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
So that's what I've got put together. It's Agumon with a new BT14 twist.
I like it. I like it. So make sure you check this one out, guys. If you guys have some old BT6 cards laying around, you don't know what to do with them, and you got all these new Greymon cards that you just can't find room for in your Greymon decks, this is why. So check it out, and we'll see you guys in the next one.